I now recognize the Chairman of the Subcommittee on the Middle East and North Africa, Ms. Ileana Ros-Lehtinen from Florida, for her opening statement.
Thank you so much, Judge Poe. Since the beginning of this Congress, our two subcommittees have held joint hearings to explore the conflict in Syria, the crisis in Iraq, and the rise of ISIL, and we have yet to see a coherent or comprehensive strategy to address these issues from the administration. For more than 3 years now, the administration has failed to address the Syria crisis head-on and instead has let the country become a safe haven for more and more terrorists who seek to harm the United States and our interest. We on this committee have continued to sound the alarm and have been pleading with the administration to be more proactive in Syria to avoid spillover effects that can further destabilize the region. Unfortunately, our calls have gone unanswered. Even former officials from this same administration have been public about their own criticism over the President's Syria strategy or lack thereof. The longer the administration delays and fumbles about, the greater the danger for both U.S. national security interests and those of our allies. We must have a comprehensive strategy that not only removes Assad from power, but addresses the Iran issue and links Iraq, Syria, and ISIL together. All of this does not give me much confidence that our officials have a satisfactory plan in place to address the foreign fighter threat. While it is important that we refrain from hyperbolic rhetoric and overreaction when talking about ISIL and foreign fighters, it is equally important that we not downplay the threat. The CIA estimated in September that ISIL now has between 20,000 and 31,500 total fighters in Syria and Iraq, and at least 15,000 of whom are foreign fighters from 80 countries. U.S. intelligence officials have acknowledged the difficulty in providing an exact number, saying that due to, quote, the changing dynamics of the battlefield, new recruits, and other factors, it is difficult to assess the precise number of individuals, end quote. What we do know is that the majority of foreign fighters are from nations in the Middle East. However, there's a significant number, over 2,700 according to DHS testimony, that come from Western countries, including over 100 Americans. And as we know, many of these individuals do not need a visa to enter the United States. The reach of this terrorist organization has extended beyond our initial assessment, as we saw the tragic killing of 4 people at the Jewish Museum of Belgium in Brussels, or the attack in Melbourne, where days after ISIL called for attacks against Australians, an 18-year-old stabbed officers at a police station in the hand, body, and head after offering to help the officials with their investigation. The possibility of homegrown or lone wolf attacks like these inspired by ISIL should be of grave concern to law enforcement officials everywhere. The European Union, which has been soft on terrorism in the past, must take heed of these examples and tighten their terrorism laws, as well as increase their cooperation with us. We must also remember that the process of foreign fighters joining ISIL and the group's radicalization of Westerners are still in the beginning stages. It took years before we saw the results of individuals joining Osama bin Laden and al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, and the complete threat posed by ISIL foreign fighters remains to be seen. Yes, it is true that the problem of foreigners joining terrorist group is not a new problem. This should not allow us, however, to be complacent. The sheer number of foreign fighters joining ISIL is cause for alarm, and any attempt to downplay the threat is only misguided and dangerous. We must look at all options available to us to prevent fighters traveling to Syria and Iraq from returning to the United States and the recruitment in the first place. Whether that is tightening travel restrictions on those who try to enter certain countries or come back to the U.S., increasing penalties for providing support to terrorist groups, enhancing cooperation with our allies, especially visa waiver countries that may be vulnerable to tracking these dangerous individuals. All of those are things that we must do. We have to have a realistic debate about the measures necessary to take on foreign fighters, to monitor them here and overseas, to arrest and detain them before and after an attack, all while ensuring that our civil liberties are protected. Rhetoric that attempts to whitewash the threat or pretend that those who raise concerns are fearmongers does us all a disservice. I look forward, Mr. Chairman, to hearing from our witnesses to what exactly the administration is doing to tackle this problem in both short and long term, as well as to encourage the debate we all need to be having. Thank you, sir.